Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Hope you all are fine and in good health. Welcome to Zoom online class. I'm your science teacher, and today is a summary lecture of unit number 1, that is cells, tissue, and organ. So now let us discuss about cells, tissues, organ, and organ system. As we know, a cell is the smallest unit of living matter and the building blocks of living things. When cells combine, they form tissues. So tissues are the groups of cells working together to perform a certain job. And organs, what are organs? Organs are groups of tissues that perform a certain function. Now what is an organ system? Organs working together to carry out a certain life functions are called an organ system. So cells combine together to form tissue, and when tissues combine together they form organs, and when organs they work together they form an organ system. So what is cell? Students, as you know that all organisms are made up of cells. A cell is the smallest unit of living matter, and it is the basic unit of life. Some kinds of organisms, like for example bacteria, they are made of only one cell. That's why they are called unicellular organisms. And there are other types of organisms like people and trees. They are made of trillions of cells, and they are called multicellular organisms. Many celled organisms have different types of cell. Like, for example, when we talk about animals, animals have bone cells, nerve cells, muscle cells, and blood cells. And when we talk about plants, so plants have leaf cells and root cells. How are organisms organized? Many celled organisms are organized in cells, tissues, organ, and organ system. So animals and plants are many celled organisms, right? So they are the multicellular organisms, right? Animals are made up of many kind of cells. Like you are made of blood cells, bone cells, skin cells, and many others. A plant also have different cells in its root, in its stem and leaves. So when cells combine together, tissues are formed. In your body, a single skin cell or blood cell does not work alone. Cells work together in groups, and that's why they are called tissues. When cells they work together, they are called tissues. A tissue is a group of similar cells that work together carrying out a certain job. Like for example, skin cells work together as skin tissue that covers and protects your body. Other kinds of tissues in an animal's body include muscle, bone, nerve, and blood. Plant cells are also organized into tissues. For example, leaves of plants are made of tissues that help the plant make food. Now look at this diagram on the screen. You can see that there are different tissues present in human body, like connective tissue, epithelial tissue, nervous tissue. So when cells combine together, they form tissues, and when tissues they combine together, they form organs. Throughout your body, tissues are grouped together so they can work together. An organ is a group of tissue that work together doing certain jobs. Root, stem, and leaves are organs of a plant. A leaf is an organ of a plant that makes food for the plant. The roots of a plant are the main organs in the root system of a plant. The heart, lungs, and brain are the examples of animal organs. Your heart is an organ. It contains muscle tissue, nerve tissue, and blood tissue. And what is the job of a heart? That its job is to pump blood throughout your body. So when our organs they combine together, they form an organ system. Organ systems work together, so life processes like breathing and digestion can be carried out, keeping many-celled organisms like you healthy and alive. So when a group of parts work together, they form a system, right? A group of organs working together to carry out a specific life function is called an organ system. A plant's root system, leaves are an organ system. Your digestive system is an organ system. It contains, in your digestive system, you can see that it contains your mouth or esophagus, stomach, small intestine and large intestine, and the liver. So digestion breaks down the food and absorbs the nutrients you need to live. Now let us discuss about the plant cell. Although both plant and animal cells normally have a cell membrane, cytoplasm and a nucleus, there are some features found in plant cells that are not present in animal cells. These are plant cells have a cell wall, right? So plant cells have a cell wall as well as a cell membrane. The cell wall is made up of a material called cellulose, and it helps to keep the plant rigid. Cell membrane, the plasma membrane or the cell membrane provides protection for a cell. It also provides a fixed environment inside the cell, and that membrane has several different functions. One is to transport nutrients into the cell and also to transport toxin substances out of the cell. So a rigid layer that surrounds the cell membrane is a cell wall. Its function is to provide the support and protection for the cell. Then here comes the vacuole. The vacuole is a bag-like structure in the center of the cytoplasm. It takes up most of the space inside the cell and contains a solution of sugar and salts. Now this solution is called the cell sap. The cell sap pushes the cytoplasm up against the cell wall to keep the cell rigid. So plant cells usually have a large central vacuole which contains a liquid that is called cell sap. Cell sap contains dissolved substances such as sugar, minerals, salts and amino acids. In plant cell, chloroplast is also present. Chloroplast contain the green pigment that is called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is used by plants in photosynthesis. So what is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is the process by which plants make their own food. Chloroplast is an organelle found in the leaves of green plant. They are found in plant cell. The function of the chloroplasts are to produce glucose, that is the food, during photosynthesis and to store the food energy. So what basically the chlorophyll is? Chlorophyll is a green pigment that allow a plant to absorb carbon dioxide. Radiant energy from the sun is absorbed by the plant throughout the chlorophyll. Plant cell also contains cytoplasm. So cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance where chemical reactions happen. It's a jelly-like substance which makes up most of the cell in both animals and plants. The cytoplasm contains a number of small structures called organelles. These do several things. The mitochondria produce energy for the cell. Others, called ribosomes, they make protein. They receive chemical messages from the nucleus which tell them exactly which proteins to make. Plant cell also contain the nucleus. The nucleus controls and regulates the activities of the cell like growth and metabolism and contains the hereditary information. So the nucleus contains the substance that is called the DNA. The nucleus carries the plans for plants and animals the cell will grow into or be a part of. It controls the kind of chemicals that cell make and how much of each of them is produced. Nucleus control how and when the cell divide. A plant or animal cell without a nucleus cannot be reproduced. So students, it is important to remember that unlike many animals, plants do not have skeleton. They keep their shape because the cell wall and the cell sap in the vacuoles keep the cell rigid. So now students, we will discuss about the structure of an animal cell. So here in the picture you can see that in animal cell they have only a thin cell membrane. They do not have a cell wall. As in a plant cell you can see they have a cell membrane as well as a cell wall. So cell membrane provides protection for a cell. It also provides a fixed environment inside the cell, and that membrane has several different functions. One is to transport nutrients into the cell and also to transport toxic substances out of the cell. So they do not have a cell wall. They only have a thin cell membrane. They also not have any chloroplast. They do not have chloroplast or a large and a permanent vacuole. As in a plant cell, they have a chloroplast as well as a large vacuole. But in an animal cell, they do not have chloroplast or a large and a permanent vacuole. However, they may have small vacuoles which only last for a short time. Animal cells have small vacuoles because they do not need to store as much water as other organisms such as the plants. So basically the function of the vacuole is that it protects the cell from the potential harm and act as a vacuum cleaner of the cell. The plant has the largest vacuole, but in the animal cell you can see they have a small vacuoles, right? So mitochondria is also present in animal cell. Mitochondria are also known as a powerhouse of the cell. Mitochondria produces the energy necessary for the cell survival and functioning. Through series of chemical reaction, mitochondria break down glucose into an energy molecule. In animal cell, cytoplasm is present and it is a jelly-like substance and which makes most of the cell in this animal cell, right? So again here you can see that the nucleus is present and the nucleus contain the substance that is called DNA, and you know that nucleus controls all the activities of the cell, right? Now let us discuss my task. As you have done your two questions, like question number 1, define different organs of plant with a diagram, and question number 2, what is the function of cell membrane. Now what you have to do, you have to complete question number 3, 4 and 5 in your neat copies, okay, with the proper margin line, with the proper date, headings as well as sketches, and after completing each answer you must have to draw ending line, right? So students, as you have done question number 1 and 2 in your neat copy, now what you have to do, you have to complete question number 3, 4 and 5. Your question number 3 is how many cells are there in unicellular organism? Give 2 example. So write down the question. After that you must have to leave a line and give the heading with a blue marker in a capital letter, that is unicellular organism. Must draw the sketches and do the shading in the sketch as well. Now after that you have to give a 2-finger gap and write down the answer. Unicellular organisms are made up of only one cell that carries out all the functions needed by the organism, right? Then again leave a line and give the heading examples. So you have 2 examples that are shown on your screen, clear? Then after that you have to do question number 4, name the organelles found in animal cell. Again give the heading organelles in animal cell, give us draw a neat sketch, shade it. After that give a 2-finger gap and write on the answer. Following are the organelles in animal cell, and then write down the points, right? That's first, second, third and fourth, right? And write down all these names of organelles in your neat copy. Then you have to do question number 5, define a nucleus with its function. So first of all you have to define the nucleus, give the heading of a nucleus, draw a sketch, do the shading in a sketch as well, right? Draw proper margin line on each page, clear? and then you have to do, you have to give two-finger gap and start writing the definition of the nucleus. The part of the cell that controls all the activity of the cell is called nucleus. And then you have to give the heading of function and write down 2 points, that it contains the substance called DNA. DNA must be in a capital letter with a blue marker. And the point number 2, it also controls how and when the cell divides, right? So after defining the nucleus and its function, what you have to do, you must have to show the nucleus by drawing a plant cell in a block, right? So this all diagram must be with a black marker. Give the heading of plant cell with a black marker, and the labeling with a black pointer, clear? And the labeling must be in the capital letter, clear? So students, your today's homework is that you have to complete question number 3, 4, 5 in your neat notebooks. So dear students, I hope you understood all the lecture. Thank you so much. Stay home, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.